So now I'd like to move on to taxation. And if you could please outline your ideal taxation policy, and in particular, what are your views on the financial transaction tax to limit oil speculation, new tax brackets for higher earners, and extending the Bush tax cuts?
I'm going to start with the Bush tax cuts, and it relates to your question, ma'am, a few minutes ago, but it also relates to my feeling of limiting the deficit. I am of the core belief that the deficit must be tackled, and with the majority of people, both Republicans and Democrats, I believe that. So now we're left with the two choices I told you about, which is increase revenue from somewhere, which is what I believe needs to happen. So here's what I think should happen. I think we should sunset the majority of the Bush tax cuts. I believe that the one area, there's a couple areas that I believe that need to be more addressed. So the news will ask me that, and they're like, oh, you just want to raise taxes. But let me give you very specific answers. The area of capital gains, I believe, is an area that we could create jobs. So capital gains should be sunsetted, except for, and I'm going to give you a three-year window, new business creation. So I'm going to give you, and I want to take it down capital gains from the 15%, we've down to 0. So you have 0 capital gains for new business creation, where businesses last more than 3 years and are creating jobs. That is very radical, different. Nobody's talking about it, but that's under my plan. I would sunset the majority of the other plans, and I do differ from the president on this, and I do differ from the congressman on this. I believe the tax cut should only be for 100,000 and less. 80% of the makeup of Congressional District 1, your representative of Congressional District 1, are earners that make households that make under $100,000. So I do believe it should be under $100,000. I do believe in lowering taxes structure for those making under $50,000, and there's many people in Congressional District 1, by and large, on average, that are making less than $50,000. I'm sorry, there's like 15 questions in here, so what are the other questions?
So the other one was financial transaction tax to limit oil speculation.
Okay. I want to finish up on the Bush tax cuts. For a couple of things. We're staring down the gun barrel of what I call, and other people are calling the perfect storm. You have, at the end of the year, the Bush tax cuts coming up. You have what everybody's terming as bond vigilantes that are saying that if we don't deal with our deficit, that our bond rating is going to go up, or down rather. And you also have the problem of raising the debt ceiling. And the debt ceiling, we're going to probably have to raise it based on the current trend, January, February, maybe March if we get lucky. So we have those three things coming at the end of the year. I am not for raising the debt ceiling. However, I don't think there's a choice for the next raise, and that has to happen. We must deal with deficit, and the bond vigilantes must see us dealing with the deficit in a way, or else they're going to lower our bond rating, and that's going to increase our cost of borrowing. So that's a very significant.
It didn't before. They lowered the bond rating, and still our bonds are dirt cheap.
Yes, but I mean they have, and it's not just me saying it. This is out in the, I've done a lot of reading, so they have. I won't say threatened us, but they have said that if they don't see some kind of a plan, they're going to lower our bond, not only lower our bond rating, but it's going to cost.
They're awfully slow to do so.
Yes, and I hope they continue to be slow to do so, but I mean at some point, it's going to happen. So I wanted to connect those dots for you. There is a major problem coming. It's more so than just the Bush tax cuts that are the problem.
And so on the financial transaction tax?
The financial transaction tax on oil speculation, I do believe that oil speculation is a major problem. I am looking under the current plan to force the use of 10% of our own oil without going to the speculation market that we're producing on our own shores for our own country. And I think that will actually help too. So that's in addition to limiting that as well.
And so do you support new tax brackets for higher earners?
I do. I believe that by sunsetting the Bush tax cuts, the tax brackets are going to be going up. I do believe that higher earners, and one of them, have to pay more. But I also believe on the lower end that, again, 50,000 under should be paying less than what they're currently paying.
And so just to hit on what you said about capital gains tax, when you mean sunsetting the capital gains tax, Do you mean returning it to being taxed as income? Do you mean returning it to a pre-tax cut state? Or do you mean eliminating it?
We're talking about separating it into two buckets. The bucket that I believe is going to help spur the economy is the creating new businesses, so it's zero capital gains on new business creation that are going to create jobs. And to eliminate the fraud on that is put a 3-year limit on. So the business must be in existence for 3 years. I believe that will create significant job creation. On the other side of the equation, when your son saying the Bush tax cuts, there's an increase on regular capital gains to go back to what it was. I'm concerned about that, as maybe it should be a step in, as opposed to just going back, reverting back to what it was. I think it will crush the stock market.
I wanted you to clarify something. Did I understand that you were going to vote not to raise the tax? The debt ceiling?
So I believe that there's not a choice. I mean, we can't go to default. So if you asked me this question today and we had the choice to make, which is going to happen in January or February, which will be under next Congress, yes, I will vote to raise the ceiling, not because I want to, because I don't think there's a choice for the next time around. I don't see that as an option. But that's a pretty bitter pill.
So would you vote for a clean increase without spending cuts attached to it?
Would I vote for it? I don't know if that's the way it was posed, I don't know if there's a choice. We have to increase the debt ceiling because we're going to be defaulting. That can't happen. But you know, in some
This
way our
is money
government.
that has been voted by law.
Yes, I know we have to pay but we have to get our spending in order. I mean, that's the other part of this equation.
Nobody else has a debt ceiling.
You know.
Well, we are limited on time, so
I think we're on a crash course, though.
I'd like to move on to